Hey guys, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do my introduction and then I'm going to wait for some people to get on. So, if you don't know who I am Bergeau Elise Fullylove, and I am the owner of Bailey's Notary Services as well as the Notary Education Group. I come on live once a week to share business tips and notary information with you guys and to answer any questions that you may have. Let's see. So for today, we're going to be talking about what makes you the best notary. I'm going to give some people some time to get on. I know it's Sunday evening. For some of us, we are off tomorrow. I am one of them. Not working tomorrow, but I am going to be eating some of the food that my husband prepared today. My husband did it, y'all. Like he did the dang on thing. He made so much food. I'm going to eat when I get off of here with you guys. I hate that my lighting is doing that. I didn't want it to be like, wonder if I turn this on. Let's see. I guess that's okay. But yeah, he cooked so much food. I can't wait to eat when I get off of here and eat it again tomorrow. Oh, you know what? I got all the ink pens in here. What the heck? Put some of them ink pens back in my bag. So let's see. If you are watching me right now, please go ahead and say hello in the comments and let me know where you are watching from. As always, remember to subscribe so that when I do go live, you will know. Let me go to my Facebook group so I can let them know that I'm live before I get started. Otherwise, I'm just going to get started and then share the topics that I wanted to discuss tonight, and then I'm going to log off. So again, if you are watching, please drop in the comments your name and let me know where you're watching from. Hi, Ohaj. Hi, Crypto Kitty. All right, Annapolis, Maryland. Welcome. Hey, fellow Floridian, Kitty. Let's see. Where, oh, where? Here it is. The link. Copy. All right, we shared that. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So, what makes you the best notary? All right, so number one, being dependable. Okay, many people think that, being the best notary means that I have to know all of this stuff and I have to have all of these certificates from all of these different courses that you guys see it coming about, and that's going to make me the best notary. But no, it doesn't. Let me tell you, most of those certifications for those courses that you guys are acquiring, customers know nothing about it. A lot of clients don't know about it either, okay? And they don't really care. What they do care about is that the notary that they are trying to hire is dependable. Can they depend on you to provide a service? I can't tell you guys how many times I have heard people have notaries scheduled to meet with them at a specific time on a specific date, and they get stood up. Notaries are scheduling appointments and they are not showing up for the job. So we need to be the best notary by being dependable. If you get a phone call, you need to answer your phone. If a person books an appointment with you, then you need to make that appointment. If something happens, you need to call. Okay? So let's be dependable notaries in order to be the best notary. All right? Number two, reliable. All right? You want to be reliable. All right. And I know you're like, well, dependable and reliable, isn't that the same thing? It's a little different. All right. So being relied upon means being consistent. All right. Streamlined from start to finish. Okay. Clients and customers, they want to know that when they come and hire you for service, that they can rely on you to provide the service the way that you said it was going to be provided. Okay, means that when you arrive to the appointment, you're not changing stuff up at the last minute. Okay, if your customer has agreed to do XYZ and you have explained to them all of the different things that can occur during the appointment, you need to stick to that. All right, so being reliable is going to make you the best notary. All right. Next, you do want to be knowledgeable, okay? And not knowledgeable in the sense that you need to know why these documents exist and what they're specifically for, but being knowledgeable on how to execute the documents, all right? Because an incorrect execution of the documents can deem the documents to be invalid. What does being invalid mean? It means that they can't use it for the reason that they intended to. All right. So you need to know how to notarize documents. All right. And there is no shade being thrown to all of these different courses that we have seen come up. I love, Laura Buer and Bill Soroka. I followed them, very heavily in the beginning of my notary career. But what I will tell you guys is that um, being knowledgeable about notary work is what people are pushing away from. Don't push away from that. You need to know how to notarize documents. It's okay to get certified to do all of these other things, but your primary role as a notary public is knowing how to notarize documents. Okay? That is our primary role. That is why customers come to us, because they need the documents notarized to do whatever it is they're trying to do. Okay? So stand up to date on your state laws, knowing what you can and cannot do. So for some of you, you don't know, I signed up to work a certain amount of hours a week with One Notary. Okay, One Notary is an online platform. And yes, I do, Ohaj, and I'll answer your question a little bit more after I get done with what I'm saying. So I signed up to work with One Notary, and I had a client come in, or customer, right? One of their customers called in, and so I took the call. So when I took the call, immediately I saw that they had signed on with a learner's permit. Now, me being a Florida approved educator, I remember from my Florida statutes that a learner's permit is not one of the listed government issue IDs that is on the acceptable ID list, okay, in our statutes. And so I told him, first, I asked him, do you have another form of ID? He said that he had a passport. I said, okay, are you able to log out and come back in using your passport? Because we can't take a learner's permit as an acceptable form of ID in Florida. Now, even though I'm an online notary and I can service customers anywhere in the world, I still have to follow the laws of my state. And the laws of my state state that I cannot take a learner's permit as a acceptable form of ID for notarization. Okay. So this is what I mean about you being knowledgeable. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with you having to go and check the statutes or check your notary primer. Or primer. I heard somebody else call it a primer, and I've been saying it ever since. Primer, for those of you who call it a notary primer, same thing. I have mine in my notary bag over there, but it's all the way over there. But if you have your notary primer, there's nothing wrong with you going back in there to double check what it is that you are doing, okay? Because you always want to make sure you're following your state laws when you're executing documents, okay? So being knowledgeable about notary. Like I said, it's okay to be certified to do other things that you think are cool and you think that will make you more money in the field. But first and foremost, you need to know your notary duties first. Okay, like the back of your hand, inside and out. All right. Now, to answer Ohaj's question, I do offer classes on how to become a notary. All of my classes are online on demand. Do I teach them live? No, I don't. I did teach them live before I became a full-time notary, but now that I'm a full-time notary, I simply just don't have the time to. Sometime in the near future, I was thinking about trying to offer maybe a weekend live to people who do prefer to have more of a person to person interaction when they're learning. But right now, I just have online on demand. And it is free. It's a free course, Notary Basics 101. How to become a notary in Florida. If you are trying to apply, that course does cost, but the Notary Basics 101 course that I have is free. The majority of my courses are free. I have some paid ones, but the majority of them are free. So all you got to do is go to the notaryeducationgrp.com and check them out. You're going to go to the tab that says courses, either at the top of the screen if you're on a computer, or if you are using a cell phone, you would go into those 3 dash lines, which would be the menu. Click that. You're going to have a drop down, come down, and then you click on courses. So I'm going to give you the website so you can check out those free courses. All right. So next on my list, what will make you the best notary? Being ethical. All right. Upholding integrity. All right. We are supposed to be unbiased witnesses as notary publics. So we cannot discriminate no matter what the person has going on. We can't discriminate, guys. Okay. When it comes to, you're welcome, Mohaj. When it comes to notarizing these documents, okay, it doesn't really matter what the documents are for. Okay. As long as the person listed in the document is the person who's supposed to sign the document, as long as the person who's supposed to sign the document is able to identify themselves using an identification document that is acceptable in your state, and as long as the person is willing and aware, we can't really, um, judge and give our opinions. You see a couple, oh my God, why are you guys getting divorced? That's none of your business. They're coming to get divorce documents notarized. You notarize the documents. All right. Person is, trying to give up their child or something, and let somebody else adopt them. None of your business. Okay. Make sure all of the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Notarize the document, and that's it. Okay. So uphold integrity and being honest. Okay, guys. I can't tell you how many times I've had people be scammed by notaries, which is really sad. As a notary, in order for you to create a successful clientele of business, you need to be honest, you need to be transparent. Okay. Our goal should not be to try to get rich off of one customer. Okay. Which means overcharging for no reason at all. You should have your fees set, and your fees shouldn't change depending on the weather, depending on your feelings for the day. The fees should be the same across the board. All right. Whether a person is indigenous or rich, doesn't matter. It means that everybody gets charged the same price, period, depending on what it is they're getting notarized. Okay. So be honest. Don't try to price gouge, and do not be unfair. Okay. Because we're supposed to be that person. When a person comes to a notary, they already know this person is honest. This person is not going to scam me. And unfortunately, we're hearing about it happening all the time. So you want to be the best notary, be ethical. Next, right up under there is trustworthy. Be trustworthy, guys. I mean, you are supposed to no, let me go back. You are collecting personal and private information. You're getting access to a lot of personal and private information, okay? People's socials, people's bank accounts, people's addresses, their parents' names, and so forth. And that stuff is confidential, and only you should have access to it. It should not be shared with anyone, and no one else should have access to your records that you should be keeping as a notary, okay? So please be trustworthy. Please be honest. Please make sure that you are protecting your signer's information at all times. Okay. And your tools, protecting your tools at all times. It doesn't matter if you work for an employer, you're a notary for an employer. Do not let your employer talk you into doing something as a notary that you know you're not supposed to be doing. I have seen and heard many times where employers, they hire a notary out of convenience, but they end up having the notaries do things that they know they cannot do. They know that a notary, such as myself, who has a business, is not going to provide the type of service that they're looking for. So they'll hire a notary because that notary would be scared that they're going to lose their job if they don't do what their employer wants them to do, even though they know it is unethical and against the law, probably. All right. So when you're notarizing for your employer and your employer goes out of the state, that employer should not be able to get documents notarized until they return. Why? Because the very first most important step of notary is physical presence. That person has to be physically there. Now, if you do it online as an online notary, they'll be physically present using audio video, right? Other than that, they need to be in person via physical presence. I hear it happen all the time. And if you work for your employer, you need to be educating them too. Because truth be told, people don't, unless they are studying to become a notary, people really don't know what your job is and what your role is. And our job is to make sure that they understand it to the point of knowing what we can and can't do. I don't expect for a customer to come to me and understand what's about to be done, but I do want them to understand that there are some things I can do and some things I can't do. And it's my job to tell them, not to expect that they already know. Okay. And that comes with being trustworthy. Giving good information that is true, that will make a person trust you. Okay. Next, and I know this is hard for a lot of people who work a full-time job because I was one of them. I worked a full-time job before, and so I worked my notary business part-time, and sometimes I could not make myself available. But being the best notary means that you are available to do the job. All right. So we shouldn't be making appointments hoping that we're going to be available for the appointment, because that's why a lot of customers are getting these notaries who are not showing up. All right. Um, Notaries are trying to fill their books with more appointments than what they can handle in a day. I personally have done 6 appointments in a day, and I think that's about as much as I can handle in one day. I can handle 6. I've heard notaries squeeze 10 appointments in for a day. I don't see how they do it, but then again, I am a mom, so I do have to worry about my kids. My kids are in school, so therefore, squeezing 10 appointments in a day probably wouldn't work for me, being a mom, right? So 6 appointments in a day, that's about as good as it gets for me, and that's me being full time, a full time notary. Now, when I was working full time and working my notary business part time, I could do maybe 2 a day, maybe, depends on what the demands were for my job for that day. So being available and being flexible, okay, that can definitely make you a good notary, the best notary as well. Because I tell you, sometimes the companies that call me, they will be working all day trying to get these documents together, and they finally got them done, and they need a notary within an hour. You working full time may not be able to take that, and that's understandable. But us notaries who are full time, who can make ourselves available, that you will be the best notary. You'll be their go to notary for sure. Willing. All right. I've seen complaints, especially with me being in Florida. Florida is one of the witness states where we have to have witnesses for conveyance deeds and for life and estate documents, right? So they're complaining like, why do I have to provide a witness? You don't have to provide a witness, but if your signers are not able to have a witness, if the company is not able to find another person to be a witness, there's nothing wrong with you accommodating them, being willing to provide a service, and they're going to pay you an additional fee if you provide a witness. I have not worked for any company who did not pay me additionally for providing my own witness for their transaction. Okay. It's called being a team player. If you're not willing to be a team player where you are not the only part, but you're a part of the moving parts in the transaction, that you're not going to be labeled as one of the best notaries. All right. The best notaries are team players. Okay. Next, patience. We have to have patience. Why? Because some of the transactions that come across our desk are not always going to be for a happy occasion. Okay. I've notarized documents where property had to be sold because of a very messy divorce. Property had to be sold because of a death of a family member. I've had to be involved in divorce, documents where the two people, it was a messy separation and, they had to come together. I had one couple where they both had to sign the same document, but they did not want to sign together. So the one person showed up with the documents and signed, left the documents with me. The other person showed up when the other person left. So it's just, you got to be patient. Okay. You got to be patient. Know that this has nothing to do with you. Okay. They are going through something and they need you to get it done. So just be patient, be kind. Okay. Offer the best quality customer service and get the documents done. Okay. Especially online. Doing online notary requires a higher level of patience because technology is not always easy to navigate. So it's not so much as you, because sometimes I do have issues with the technology, and it's not because I don't know how to do it. For the customers, it's because they don't know how to do it. This is something new for them, some of them. But for me, sometimes it's a connection. Sometimes I have to refresh because the platform is acting a little wonky. So you got to be patient and you can't show your frustration. And sometimes that's really hard for me because it shows on my face. Like I can be talking to you as patient as possible, but you can see in my face that I am done with whatever's going on. But um, being patient when you're handling all notary transactions is super important, and it will be super appreciated by the customer after it's all said and done. Okay. So you want to be the best notary? Make sure you got some patience. All right. Next, honorable. All right. The best notaries are the honorable notaries. And what does that mean? Being respectful, holding a high level of camaraderie with the people that you work with. All right. That's an honorable notary. All right. And you don't want to ever make it where people don't respect you. People respect people, in different roles for a reason. Have the confidence in yourself. Know that what you're doing is important. All right. And don't be bullied. Don't let people bully you. I've had a few occasions where I've showed up, I've introduced myself, I was very professional, but when you are faced with a person who wants to take control of the appointment, sometimes it can make you either stand firm or bow down. I've never been the type of person to bow down, and it's not in a bad way, right? So, for example, I had a closing. I was at the title agent's office, okay? And no one told me what their titles were. They were there, I was there. I got the documents, we're talking, I'm getting everything together. And so we begin doing the signing, right? And I'm going through the documents, and the young lady who was sitting across from me and sitting adjacent to the signer took the documents out my hand and started explaining it to the signer. So I stopped. I spoke up. I said, hey, so that's not how this works. Okay. If you need to pause and you need to explain something to the signer, and let me also add that the signer, he spoke, hi, Nancy from Southern California. The signer spoke English and Spanish, but she needed to explain something to him in Spanish from the documents. So She took them out my hand to explain to him. And I stopped her and I told her, that's not how this works. If you need to go into further detail about any documents in Spanish for the signer, please let me know and I will happily hand you the document. Please do not snatch the documents out of my hand. And so she proceeded to respond to me and say, well, he had a question about something and I wanted to tell him why this was the way it was. And I said, I understand. And I said, but I only speak and understand English. So if he told you this in Spanish, I would not have known. So I would like for us all to have a open communication within the transaction here. So if there is something that you need to do that I'm unaware of, if you can please let me know in English, and I will be more than happy to let you do it. And so she apologized and we proceeded on. So being honorable, you want to demand that respect, because if you show at any time that you are not to be respected, they're not going to respect you. They're not. And there's nothing wrong with just pausing, being professional. You don't want to be rude. You don't want to say, hey, don't snatch it out of my hand. What's wrong with you? No, you don't need to do that. Just be professional. Let them know that you don't like that and that this can't happen again. And that if there needs to be anything extra that needs to be done, they need to communicate that with you. And that's it. The person will understand. And the appointment may be a little awkward after that, but you need to stand up for yourself and you need to demand that respect. So be honorable to yourself, if nothing else. All right, guys. Problem solver. Okay. A lot of times us notaries do have to be the problem solver, okay? Because the customer, they have been through hell and back sometimes with these different transactions that they are doing. And it's not only closing. Sometimes it can be the estate documents. Sometimes it could be documents with work, and it can be anything, right? And so they may come to you with a problem and may need you to help them solve it. All right. And I'm not saying to do anything that is out of your realm of, support, right? Like my customer, they were saying, hey, I know they need these documents signed at this time, but I'm going to be at work. I won't be able to meet you at my home. I said, okay, well, where do you work? I work like 20 minutes from the house. That's fine. I can meet you at your job. Oh, but I can only sign in the lobby because I don't want my coworkers in my business. That's fine. We can meet in the lobby. Just let me know what the address is and let me know the time and I can accommodate. And they're like, oh my God, thank you. Because I didn't know how I was going to be able to make it home at that time. And they told me that you were going to come to my house. And I thought that you only could come to my house. And I'm like, no, I can come anywhere that you are. Right. Online notary. We had an issue where the customer, they could not get connected using their computer. I'm like, well, let's go on your phone. Let's do it on your phone. They needed me to walk them through. So what I did was I had them FaceTime me on their tablet. I could look at the phone. I helped them navigate through how to get connected on the phone, and problem solved. We're connected and we're online. Took about an hour, but we got it done. Okay. So being a problem solver, thinking quick on your feet, that is going to definitely make you the best notary. And my last points, good written and verbal communication, super important. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you an example of a signing service. Okay. Now, with signing services, they're hiring you to facilitate a transaction for their client with the client's customer. All right. So there's a lot of different people who have their hands in this transaction, and everybody wants to see it get done. And you are the in person, you're it. After you, they can close, they can do whatever they need to do, right? So you need to be communicating with them, both written and verbal. All right. So I had a appointment where it was a business doing a transaction. They flip properties, right? So we're signing the documents, and he comes across a document where it's not right. Okay, it's supposed to be an exemption document, and this document was not that. So call the signing service. The signing service, they didn't answer. I'm like, okay, let's call the person that you're working with. So he called the person that he was working with, explained to the person what the situation was, said, oh, you know what? You're right. I sent you the wrong document. Are you at your office? He said, yeah. I'll send you this document. Tell the notary to have you sign this document and discard the other document. So, okay, cool. So we signed that document and we discarded the other document. Now, when I finished, I had to do scans at the table because it was funding immediately the same day. So I take out my scanner, I scan all the documents. I thank them for working with me and thank them for their time. I wrap it up and I'm leaving. But what I forgot to do was I forgot to email, because even though the signing service couldn't answer the phone, they were probably busy. I should have emailed them to let them know what was happening. So when they reviewed the scans, they're noticing a document is missing. Like, why is this document missing? So they saw that the signing service did upload an extra document. So they asked me, hey, did you see that that the title company added another document? I said, yes, I did. We printed it at the office. And they're like, okay, cool. But we noticed in your scans that you didn't have a document that was in the original documents that we sent you before. Why is that? I said, oh my God, you know what? I'm sorry. I forgot. I called and you guys weren't able to answer. I forgot to email you and let you know that we spoke to title and that they had to swap out the documents, and they told me to discard the other ones and include this one that was signed. And so they were like, oh, okay, well, in the future, just let us know what's going on so we can all be on the same page. I apologize because I do know that. But in the moment, we were moving fast and I forgot. But being a best notary means that you are able to communicate, and you want to communicate everything that's going on, because everybody who is working in this transaction needs to know what's going on. You can't just be doing things on your own and not letting the other person know what's going on and what's happening and what's changed. Okay. So you got to have good written, you got to have good verbal communication. You want to be able to articulate clearly and professionally. Make sure that when you make that first call, once you get an appointment with the signer, let them know everything they need. So that way, when you get there, it's not a surprise. All right. That's what that first phone call is supposed to be about. Do they need to have funds to close? Do they need witnesses? Do we need to meet at a specific time in a specific location? Does title want them to sign their name in a specific way? All of these different factors need to be included in your conversation. Okay, guys? So, what makes the best notary? Everything that I went over. Being dependable, being reliable, being knowledgeable, being ethical, trustworthy, available, willing, being a team player, being patient, being honorable, being a problem solver, and having good written and verbal communication. So I hope that this helped you guys out. I know that for some notaries, you're super scared about making mistakes. But let me tell you, making mistakes does not make you a bad notary. Okay? Learning from your mistakes, being able to correct your mistakes, that makes you the best notary, because you're going to make mistakes. I make mistakes, not all the time, but I do make mistakes. Sometimes I may forget to write the date. Sometimes I may have forgotten to have them put an initial. I can count on one hand how many times I've had to go back to a signer's house, but it's happened. And I'm still the best notary. All right. So don't worry about it. Equip yourself with knowledge, because when you know better, you do better. All right. Did you guys have any questions about anything that I talked about? Or did you have a question that you that didn't have anything to do with what I'm talking about? You were just waiting for me to go live so I could answer it for you. Let me know in the comments. Other than that, I am done with today's live. I hope that you guys took a lot of good information from what I shared. And as always, if you have a question after I've ended the live, you can still put it in the comments and I will respond when I see it and get a chance. Okay. Also, don't forget, make sure that you subscribe, because if I go live and you don't know about it, you're gonna be mad. So subscribe so you get notified. Let's see, Ohaj. How do you keep track of all the services that you offer? Well, I have all of my services listed on my website. So I pretty much know about everything that I do. All the services that I offer, I don't do them all the time. So I still try my best to keep my knowledge base up about everything that I do. And that's really important. You know, only do services, only provide services that you know that are not going to take you away from what you're already doing, right? So you don't want to be juggling too many services and then you don't know what you're doing. Any service that you're going to provide, make sure that you learn it and that you know what you're doing. So that way, let's just say, because I don't do I-9s a whole lot, right? But when somebody does contact me for I-9s, I know what I'm doing because I keep up to date with any changes that have occurred. Like in August of last year, they updated the I-9 form. I took the I-9 webinar so that I can learn about it. And I also registered myself as an e-verify employer agent, which is all free. But you have to be aware, keep up to date on all of those different moving parts with each individual service that you offer. Did that answer your question? You're welcome, Nancy. Good, Hodge. I'm happy to hear that. Crypto Kitty, what an amazing supportive talk. Thank you. I cannot imagine going into my notary with all the experience you share. You are very welcome. And thank you so much for joining me today. All right, I'm going to give you guys just a little bit more time just in case you have some more questions. And then if not, I'm going to go and feed my face because my husband made some good food today and I'm ready to eat. No more questions? All right. Well, guys, I'll be on the same time next week on Sunday. You guys have a fantastic week, and I hope you enjoy your day off if you are off. And I'll talk to you guys again on Sunday. Bye.